Okay, guys, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. This has been something we've wanted to put on for a while because we just really see the value in helping you to actually go back and reprice your clients, because it's one thing, getting GoProposal and getting the pricing philosophy and realizing that you could and should be charging more money than you're actually charging now. And when you kind of do the maths and figure out what that looks like, it can become really exciting. You can see the difference it's going to make. But then at some point, the rubber's got to hit the road, and you've actually got to get in front of clients and actually start talking to them and explain to them that they've not been paying you enough money for quite some time, and they're going to have to start paying you more cash. And I know that this can be a challenge for some people. And what I've seen in the past is that when people get to this point, they can come up with all sorts of excuses as to why they're not going to do it. They can say that the pricing isn't right yet, or we've not got the right font, or little things like this. But the reality is it's much deeper psychology than that, because it's about fear of rejection. It's about losing clients. It's about worrying if you're going to lose them all and they're not going to pay you anymore, and all these things here because you've developed relationships with people. So I really appreciate the challenge of this, and we're going to help you with this today and show you how to do it. But it's more than that, because if you get this right, then this isn't just about repricing your clients. This can have a massive impact on your business and actually have a massive impact on your life, and can really change so much for you. I'll introduce myself briefly, but most of you know me. So I'm the founder of GoProposal. I'm the author of Selling to Serve, which hopefully you've got a copy of. If not, put a note in the chat and we'll make sure we send you a copy through. I'm keynote speaker, and I'm also director at MAP, which used to be called My Accountancy Place. And next to me here, we are very lucky to have Paul Barnes.
Hi everyone. So those of you who have not met me, as James says, I'm the founder of MAP, set up here about 4.5 years ago, and then me and James were fortunate, certainly from his perspective, to meet about a couple of years ago, and we founded GoProposal about 1.5 years ago. We're both based here. Both businesses are based here under the same roof in Manchester, and I'm here to share everything that I can share today. I don't keep any secrets, kind of financially or otherwise. I'm happy to share and answer any of your questions. So make the most of it whilst we're here. And as I say, I'm here to give you whatever value and whatever help and insights I can.
And whenever we do anything like this, we don't sit here saying that we've figured it all out and we're the absolute experts. We are work in progress. We have challenges like any other firms, but we feel that we've got quite a few things right. We're a very profitable firm. We had our most successful month ever last month in terms of new sign-ups. Our average fees are kind of around the £500 a month mark, and with 100% of our clients are on the cloud. We've got a lot of things right. And so if we can share things with you guys that can help to accelerate your learning and accelerate the growth of your firm and maybe avoid some of the mistakes that we've made along the way, then that's fantastic. Just put you on the spot here, Paul. I know you've been looking forward to doing this talk today. Why are you particularly looking forward to giving this webinar today and sharing the insights with our clients?
I think, like you say, just because, I'm not claiming that we're the experts, that we've figured it out, but we're maybe a bit further along the journey than some people are, because obviously we've been on the GoProposal journey right from the start. The thinking that went into GoProposal came with me before I even started the business, because one of the first things I did is open up a spreadsheet and create a list of all the services that I wanted to provide to business owners and how I would price for them. So this has been in my DNA for 5 years now, and we've tried things and failed, and we've tried things and succeeded. So there are stories and there are things that hopefully can help other people to maybe avoid making some of those mistakes and shortcut their journey a little bit, and just let them have that confidence about kind of what to expect, and also just let them know that it's not easy, but it's not meant to be easy either.
Yeah. I think one of the differences with Paul that I've noticed from other accountants is the fact that he's kind of made that entrepreneurial switch, and I see Paul very much a business owner as an entrepreneur, and that kind of changes the dynamic when you're making certain decisions and moving forward. And I know that we've fully systemized mapping over the last few years, and Paul has not been afraid to make decisions and make mistakes and kind of crack on, which has been fantastic. So if now isn't the right time to start getting paid for all the hard work that you do, when is? Now, before I start any talk, I always kind of call out mindset versus strategy, because it's okay us revealing the strategy today for how for you to implement these pricing changes. But if your mindset isn't aligned with that strategy, then it's not going to move forward. And it might be that your mindset is aligned with it, but it may be that you have another partner whose mindset isn't aligned with it, or members of staff whose mindset isn't aligned with it. And it's really important that we get everything aligned here. It sound okay? So you're always listening to two voices. There's always two voices going on in your head. You're listening to my voice and you're listening to the voice in your head that's talking to you about what I'm saying. Now you can hear me at 400 words a minute, but you can hear the voice in your head at 1200 words a minute. And that voice in your head is trying to get you off the hook. It's trying to get you from making these changes because it's trying to convince you that you're happy with where you are. And some of the things that your voice will say to you is, we already know this stuff. And what you've got to do is challenge that voice and say, just because we know it, are we actually doing it? And then the next thing it's going to say is, yeah, we're doing it. And the thing to challenge it again is say, just because we're doing it, could we be doing it better? And one of the things I hear from a lot of accounting firms is to say, well, if we do this, it's going to move me outside of our comfort zone. When you actually scratch past the surface, you realize that these accountants who are working so hard and struggling to get the income that they want to get and what they feel they deserve to get, and rightly so, is that they're not actually comfortable now. And so this isn't about moving out of your comfort zone. This is just about moving out of your familiar zone. And if we can move you out of this, you can move into something that is truly comfortable. And all I would say for you today is just look for the gold. We will be sharing things with you today that could really accelerate your growth and really move forward, but only if you tune in and look for it and want to find it. I know you've got your email browser on. I know you'll click Facebook or Twitter while you're already on here. Turn them things off. This isn't about us. This is about you giving your time for your business this morning. And we want to make sure that you get everything that we can share with you. And you're just looking for those one or two things that's really going to help you to move forward. So you are not an accountant. You're a business owner. And this is a fundamental dynamic change that we want to get you to make, because your business is there to ultimately give you the life that you want. And if you're not charging what you should be charging your clients right now, you're going to become really frustrated with your clients because you're going to be doing more work than you should be doing for them, for what you're getting paid for. Your staff are going to become frustrated with your clients, and your staff are going to become frustrated with you as well, because you're the one that created this scenario. You're the one that set up this business. So deep down, they will be frustrated with you for creating this situation. If you're not getting paid for everything that you should be getting paid for, and you're not very profitable, it also means that you can't invest in staff training, or you can't invest in new members of staff or members of staff at the right level. And it also means that your clients won't necessarily value what you do. If you're a low-priced accounting firm and they know they're getting more than they're paying for, they ultimately won't value all of the things that you're providing them with. It then has other knock-on effects as well, such as if you're not getting paid enough money, you can't invest in your marketing. If you can't invest in your marketing, you can't have a flow of new clients queuing up at your door ready to do business with you. If you don't have a queue of new clients ready to do business with you, you then become more fearful of losing any of the clients that you've got. And so all of these things are actually interrelated. And the longer that you leave this decision to reprice your clients, the harder it will be. One of the key things that you need to identify in this process as well is why you're doing this. Because we can share these strategies that's going to give you motivation. You're going to come off this webinar, you're going to be fired up, you're going to have all the willpower that you need to really move things forward. But then willpower will only take you so far, because you are going to hit obstacles on this journey. You're going to get challenges from clients. You're going to get challenges from members of staff. And at some point, willpower fades. If you know your reason why is what will pull you through that. Your reason why is what will make you find a way when you hit these challenges. Otherwise, you hit the obstacle, you say, well, try this, you hit the obstacle and you'll drop back and revert back to what you know. But if you have your reason why, it will keep you driving forward. You know, I always share my reason why for being in business to start with was to be able to take my little boy to and from school every day, and to have that freedom to do what I want to do with the people that I love when I want to do it. And one of the things I say to all accounting firms that I'm fortunate enough to be speaking to is that your clients don't care about you as much as you think they do. And when you lock your house up at night time and you've been around, you've made sure all the doors are locked and you've turned all the lights off, you've locked your cars, you've kissed your kids goodnight, and you get him in bed, no one else is thinking about you. None of your clients are worried and making sure that you're okay. And if ever, God forbid, anything were to happen with your business and anything was to go wrong with your business and it was to fail, I guarantee not one client will ring you up to see how you are or to make sure you're okay, They will ring up to see what the hell's going to happen with their accounts and what's going to happen to their business now, but none of them are going to ring up and care whether you're okay or not. And I'm saying this not to be harsh, but I'm saying it with love, because your accountancy firm is the only business in the world that's there to give you the life that you want. It's there to serve you first and foremost. And therefore, we have to make sure that your accountancy firm is actually giving you the life that you want. And when I was speaking to Paul about this, I'll switch the mic for you, I asked Paul what his reason why was, and I thought it was fantastic. So I'm going to share what helped you to make some of these tough decisions and to create this profitable firm that you've got now.
Yeah, sure. I guess with a lot of people, it comes from the parents, doesn't it? And for me, it was my dad growing up. He absolutely detested what he did. So my dad's from Glasgow, left school at 16, went straight into plastering. He's 70 next year, still doing plastering. He's never changed. He's always been self-employed plasterer, and he's hated it from day one. And the statement he used to say, it's awful, it sounds harsh, but he'd rather have seen us drown than go into plastering, because how miserable he was doing it. Now, my dad was the most happy, placid person on the planet outside of work, but he couldn't stand work, and I couldn't understand why you'd spend half your waking time doing something that you don't love. But I think I had some real mental scars with my parents. It got to like 2009, and they couldn't afford the mortgage payments on the house, and they were like 3 years away from paying off the mortgage, and they had to sell the house for like peanuts. And I was really into snooker, as you know, and my dad had built a snooker room at the bottom of the garden, and they thought the reason that I was upset about them selling the house is because I love snooker. And I got really frustrated because it wasn't. It was the fact that I felt my dad was losing his pride, because he'd built that with his own hands. He used to save up, and every week he'd come home with his cash for the week and buy his next lot of bricks to build the next bit of the snooker room. And he'd come home every week and do that. So he literally put his life and soul, and every bit of cash he could. He'd give my mum a bit of money to pay for the food for the week, and then he'd go to the builder suppliers, get some bricks, and build the next bit of the snooker room. So I felt like that was him losing a bit of his self when he lost the house. And I was devastated, because as much of the financial problems they had, they're only 3 years away from just seeing it through, and then they never have to make a mortgage or rent payment in life. And now 9 years later, they're still paying rent, and they'll be doing that until they go to the grave. So it was really difficult for me to see my dad go through that. And thankfully, he's a cheerful, happy person, and he just gets on with it. But personally, I never wanted to go through that journey myself. And it was really important. I enjoyed doing what I did. So I've just kind of had no tolerance really for anyone disrupting me from enjoying what I did. And I think a lot of it comes from my dad. My surprise has been that as I've come into business, how many other people detest what they do as a job, but also how many business owners, which the reason that amazes me is because we choose to do it.
Yeah.
We chose to set up the business, and we choose to run it. And people just start to become really beholden by the business. Like you were saying, they think that they have to keep doing it because they need to service the clients. They don't, because the clients, I'm sorry, but there's 26,000 other UK accounts out there and tons more across the world. There's plenty of people that can look after your clients. First and foremost, this accountancy firm needs to suit you and make you happy. And then you'll start to attract the right clients that are suited for the island that you've built, and it's and fundamentally it's for you and your family. So that's what drives me. And I guess, as I've got kids now, and I've got things have become more seriously, I guess, and both of us have been working on our own personal financial plans as well. And I think that's a fantastic exercise when you get into it, because you've got more reason for what you said about not putting things off to the future. We can always say we're going to do this stuff, but when you've got more things at play, it's like, actually, we need to start doing it now and not seeing this as something that we're eventually going to get around to and prioritize it. And why that's important is to give you the life that you want, help you achieve your personal goals, but also it makes you a better firm for your clients, because you're advising them on how to do the same thing. So you're practicing what you preach by having your own why and your own personal goals and helping your business to shape around that. And then you help the clients just to replicate what you do. It's not rocket science. It's just about having the passion and care for the clients that get it and the clients that want it. And that's not for everybody.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for sharing that. That's really good. And Paul's just become a dad again, little Harry been born. And so I know that you're very focused on those life goals. And that's really important, because like I said before, you're not an accountant, you're a business owner. Your business is there to give you the life that you want. You have to know what the life is that you want to start with. And that's going to really help you to make some of these decisions that we're going to be talking about now. Cheers, Paul. So the first thing we're going to talk about now is positive positioning. How do you position this change to clients? Now, if you've got a fee review coming up with a client because you're going to be doing it at the end of their year, so it's kind of a natural part of their journey, then I would see that you're going to do this positioning during that meeting. Because they expect the meeting, if you want to do this at a more rapid pace, like Kieran Phelan did, who we talked about last week, and he wanted to reprice all of his clients over a 3-month period, you've now got to get in front of your clients sooner than perhaps they expected. And so there is a kind of you have to position what you're about to do with them, and we need to make this a positive thing. And it is a positive thing. And you need to come at this from a positive point of view, because you can't apologize. You're not apologizing for the fact that you're increasing the price. This is a positive, and we need to make sure that it's a positive spin on it. And the moment you enter this process on the back foot, thinking that you're doing something wrong, it will all start to crumble as you move forward. One of the things that Paul said, which is really important as well, is you need to make this individual. It can't be like a blanket MailChimp email to everyone. Hi, everyone. We're doing a fee review because we're going to bump your prices up. Book your meeting here. It's going to be like,
I've made that mistake though.
yeah. Everyone's, yeah, that's cool. But it has to be individual. It has to feel, they don't care about your other clients. They only care about themselves. And you have to communicate that to them so they understand that you care about them too, and that is why you're ultimately doing this. So there's a couple of ways that you can frame this up, but one of them is that we're going to be pricing in a different way that's fairer to us both, so that we can ensure we're giving you the most value we possibly can, but so that ultimately you're paying for that value. Because if you're not paying for the value that we're providing you with, it's not sustainable, and it's not fair to us, it's not fair to me, and it's not fair to you, because we're not going to actually be able to deliver the value to the extent that we want to. The other way that this can really be framed up well is that we're actually creating a new model here that will open up the dialogue between us. Because very often one of the pricing methods that people use is flawed because it's perhaps based on time, and because you're not charging your client as much as you should do. They know that. And so now they're reluctant to call you. If they're paying you 50 quid a month, 100 quid a month, they're not going to want to perhaps talk to you as much as they should do, which is going to shut the dialogue down and mean that you're not going to discover all the other ways that you can provide them with tremendous value. But if you can price in a much fairer, more profitable way, it does open the dialogue up. I don't feel that I can't call MAP at any time. I feel that I can, because I'm paying them what I know I should be paying them for the value I'm getting in return. If I want to have a coffee with you, ring up, talk to you, text you, whatever, I know that I can do that because I'm pricing in the right way.
We charge you full price.
You do charge me full price. No family and friends in this place. And another way to position this to the client is that this is not just about repricing their existing services. We're not just coming out of this meeting saying, this is what you've been getting from us, now we're going to be charging you more for it. There are services that you're not getting from us at the moment that you would be benefiting from, because other clients are benefiting from it as well. Other firms that we work, other businesses that we're working with who are similar size to you, facing similar challenges, are benefiting from other services. So we want to be able to sit down and talk to you about those services.
Something I like to say about that, and this isn't a criticism of AVM, but those of you who've maybe come through that model, I remember sitting in AVM conferences in the past, and they would talk about this idea that you need to sell your full service offering from the start, because people don't like having things taken away from them. So if you give it to them from the start, you've got more chance of selling it to them, and it's very hard to upsell afterwards. And it made a lot of sense to me at the time. It seemed logical. But from experience, what I've found is that at MAP, we have actually been really successful in selling more services to our existing clients. And we're not salespeople until we're passionate that what we're selling to the client is exactly what we would buy if we were in their shoes. So I would never, the reason I passionately sell every single time is because I'm selling something that I would buy if I was them and nothing else. So it's about meeting your client where they're at and giving them just what they need at that point in time. But then don't be afraid to go back and say, look, if I was in your, constantly put yourself in their shoes. If I was in your shoes, this is what I would want for my business, and here's why, rather than it be you selling it to them. It's kind of you buying off yourself or almost, really. So it's just important, some of us get caught up in these mindset issues, and you might be hearing conflicting opinions between what James and I are saying here and what others have said in the past, but I'm not arguing who's right and who's wrong. I'm just telling you what our experience has been here as we've been through this journey. And it's not your client's job to know about all your services and know how best to use you. It's your job, because you're the experts, and you've made a career out of this, and you understand your skill set and how it can help business owners far better than they do. So it's our duty to help them to understand that a bit better.
And what Paul's talking about there, there's kind of different thoughts that we have. We can have limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs that are holding us back because you don't believe your clients can pay this money, or you don't believe that you're worth this amount. But then we can also have conflicting beliefs as well, which is two beliefs that we hold to be true that's going to keep us locked in place. So if you believe that you can't sell more to a client once they're buying from you, but then we're showing you GoProposal that you can do that, but you believe both those two things to be true, they actually lock you in position. And we had a client sign up recently. It took us a while to sign them up. But when they signed up, and they were a chunky client, weren't they? They doubled their fee with us within a week of them signing up, because we were constantly having that dialogue and they felt comfortable with that. That's just, instant proof that you don't have to sell everything up front, but by keeping the dialogue open, you will find how you can, other ways that you can give more value. This is something Paul said to me last night. We can't give you the value we know you need if we continue to charge you what we've been charging. We can't give you the value we know you need if we continue to charge you what you've been charging. And it was a really valuable statement, that.
Yeah, but and what I also say is that there's another part to that, is that some clients do have a budget and they are price sensitive, and that doesn't mean it's the end of the road. What I always say is that you always need to go in with two options. So you go in with, this is what I think you need for your business, and I think it's worth investing in, and here's why, which is a higher fee. But if you really feel like you cannot afford to pay more than what you're paying now, then the service offering needs to look like this, which might be less than what it's looked at in the past. So they can either keep the service offering the same, which is going to cost a bit more, or they can keep the investment the same, which means they're just going to get a bit less in terms of services. So you're not saying, look, this is the new price, it's double, otherwise you got to leave. You're saying, this is the new price, it's double for the services you're getting now, or keep the service, or keep the price the same, but you're going to get these services instead. And that's worked really well for us. That's just been really clear. For some businesses, there is a reason why they don't want to invest right now. But as I said before, it doesn't mean that they're not going to invest in the future. We've had people saying, no way, I'm not going to do that. And then at some point in the future, they've come back. And I think there's no secret answer to this. It's as a result of everything. It's a result of all the content that we share and all the events that we run and all the conversations that we have, and our network of referrers talking about us and our clients saying lovely things about us in person to our prospects and online, all of that things together, and the books that these business owners are reading. It can be a conversation with someone who we've never met and have never met us, but it's made them realize that a finance function can do more for you. And then they realize that maybe my accountants weren't just selling something to me for their benefit. Then maybe this is what I need, because I've now heard it from 2 or 3 people. It's just not to get stressed out if you don't manage to achieve it, but you've at least got to go in with the belief that this is what your client needs.
It's a fantastic way to position that. I've got it actually in a slide in a bit, and I've written it down exactly as you said it. So I'll share that again. But it's a great way of positioning it, because it doesn't back the client into a corner. It does give them an option, but both options serve you. If you saw the talk I did with Kieran last week that I shared in the group, he repriced 120 of his clients over a 4-month period. In that process, he lost 17% of those clients. One of them was his cousin, I believe, as well, which was one of his difficult conversations. So I'm not saying there aren't going to be difficult conversations, but he knew why he had to have that conversation with him. But during that process, he still managed to raise his revenue by 25% from his existing client base, which now means that he can take on that new member of staff that he couldn't afford before, which now means that he can reduce his working week to 4 days and spend that extra day with his family. And it's knowing that, which is why he was able to have that difficult conversation with his cousin. So when you're actually in the meeting and having a fee review with a client, I'd like to ban the word fee review, by the way. So I've just come up with some other options here. We call it a gloss review because I've got this acronym that stands for something. But whether you call it an impact review, an alignment review, a value review, I don't care what you call it, but it has to be about the client. It has to be, we're reviewing the value we're giving you, the value that we're getting. It's not a fee review, because what a fee review says is, to me as a client, let's look at ways we can charge you more for what we're already getting. And that is not what this is about. It's about how we can give you more value in the process as well. So I have got a full presentation on this that I can share with you, but I'm just going to give you a quick run through this now. But if you want to present how we do gloss reviews to yourself or your team, or have a recap of it, I'll share this with you afterwards as well. But essentially, we go through what the client's goals are. So what are their personal goals and what are their business goals? And that one thing, understanding their personal goals, is massive. If you understand that, for me, so with the bookkeeping services that I get from Matt, I don't see it that I'm buying bookkeeping services. I see that I can pick Leo and Scarlett up from school. That's what I'm buying. And the conversation that they have with me is because they understand what those goals are. When they're talking to me, they're asking me, how many times have you picked them up this week? Is there anything we can do to free up you more time? It might be that they want to reduce their golf handicap. It might be whatever it is. But if you can understand what their personal goals are, the services that you're providing them with are just a vehicle for them achieving their personal goals. And they'll value achieving those personal goals far more than you providing them with bookkeeping services. And you have to fall in love with your clients and their problems and their goals more than you love your own services.
And part of that is kind of understanding their schedule as well. You know, understanding their whereabouts. Like, how nice is it when you get a call saying, "Hi, James, I know you'll probably be on your way to Leo Sports Day or on your way to pick up Scarlett from school.
Yeah.
But I want to get this information together for you because you've got your board meeting on Thursday."
Yeah.
And now suddenly that's another thing off your mind, thinking, "Oh, I was worrying about whether we're going to have the information ready for the board meeting, and then now someone else is taking care of it, and I can go and enjoy Sports Day."
Yeah.
So as well as the goals, it's the schedule and the timetable.
That's it.
What they're up to, isn't it?
And by having that dialogue, and Charlie, like I'll ring Charlie and he'll say, "How did Leo do in Sports Day?" He knows that I'm there at Sports Day because he knows that he's helped me to go there. So it's about focusing on the personal goals to start with, then understanding where they are now. And I can't stress how valuable this one thing is as a business owner. Very few people know where they are now. They'll either see themselves as worse than they are or better than they are. And one of the tremendously valuable things that accountancy firms do, because you can't shy away from it because they're numbers, is show a client where they are. This is how much money you've got coming in. This is what's going to happen if you continue like this. And so what you do is such a valuable thing. And sometimes that can be a painful conversation. It's sometimes because they thought they were better than they are and you've revealed actually where they are. That can be a painful process, but it's a valuable process as well. So where do they want to get to? Where are they now? And what are the obstacles that's going to be preventing them from achieving those goals? And just that first part there really brings tremendous value to the client. And then on the next step here is speed. How fast do they want to go? And this is a really nice one, because then when the client's saying to you, "Well, how much is this going to cost?" A great response is, "Well, it depends how fast you want to go. Depends how soon you want to get there. If you want to reduce your time this week by an hour a week, then we can go at this pace. That's fine. If you want to start reducing your time and your team's time by a day a week, then we're going to have to move a bit faster." But what that does is it puts the emphasis back onto them for them to determine really what level of service you're now going to be providing them with. And only once you've been through that evaluation are you now in a position to then present them with a set of services that's going to show them how to overcome their obstacles and reach their goals. And this is what frustrates me when I see people talking about having like 3-tier pricing, which I think is just a terrible concept. Because if you've been through this process properly, there's only one price. There's only one set of services that client needs at that point.
I think just looking at that list as well, I've never really thought about it. This isn't just about fee reviews. This is what advisory is as well. You know, people get caught up in knots about what's advisory. Am I giving enough value? What should I be doing as advisory? And it's such a vast thing that it's really hard to be able to take yourself and your clients down a path. But the way that you do that is by following a process like this. It's as simple as understanding where your client wants to go, where they are now and how they're going to get there, which you've heard 1,000 times. But as James says, what we've really identified is that where you are now is such a valuable piece. That's not just like a throwaway comment. And you'll have all experienced this, where you sign a client up and you're talking about them in the prospecting stage, and the true story about their business is nothing like the one that they told you in the first meeting. When you start to get under the bonnet and you start to understand the numbers and what's going on better, it's often not as good as the picture that the business owner presented. And I think the reason that happens is because as business owners, we're often kind of in sales mode. So we're always in a mode of painting the best picture of our business, and people start to do it with their accountant, which you're not meant to do. You're supposed to tell your accountant the truth and the honest truth. But sometimes that's because they're in sales mode, and sometimes it's just because they don't know, because they've never had access to that data before to tell them what's really happening in their business. So to actually be able to lift the bonnet and shine the mirror on them and show them this is what your business actually looks like now, but do not pass any judgment. Don't do that in a critical or offensive way. It's just to say, this is where we're at. You've done fantastic to get this far, but this is the reality. This is where we need to get to. And now we need to put a realistic plan in place to get you from here to here.
And that's what you do very well. And I think you actually position that and say, there's no judgment here. I think, like you said, I think people are in BNI mode. They've been to too many BNI breakfast meetings where, how's everything going? Amazing, brilliant.
Yeah.
And then they come and pass that same story on to you.
Advisors are guilty as well, because advisors often try and make out like they've got all the answers, and that just by working with them, everything will be sorted, and we've got these really clever ideas. It honestly doesn't need to be like that. You just need to care. If you just care, you'll find the answers externally or internally. Again, put yourself in their shoes. And the best way for you to put yourself in their shoes is for you to be practicing this stuff yourself. Do you know your personal business goals? Do you know where your business is, what your obstacles are going to be, and how you're going to get there? Because all you're then helping them to do is what you're doing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that is a great point, Paul. And I think, one thing that you could do on the back of this is do this exact process yourself. Give yourself a gloss review and start with your personal goals. That would be a fantastic thing for you to do. And just a point on that personal goals, the place I learned this and honed this skill was I was helping a skip hire company years ago to sell their skips for more. And what was happening was people were ringing up to buy a skip, and they were an expensive company, and they were losing out on sales because they were saying it's £150 for a skip. What I got them to do is to ask a simple question, which was, are you filling the skip yourself? To which the answer is always yes. So then the reply is, well, I can send somebody with that skip or a man in a van to actually fill that skip for you, so you don't have to do it this weekend. But if you weren't filling a skip this weekend, what would you be doing? Well, I'd be playing with my son. I'd be doing this. I've got a new Nerf gun. I'd be playing with that. Fantastic. So when do you want me to get it booked in? So they've rang to buy a skip. I'm selling you your weekend. And that is where we're positioning the value. And guys, I cannot tell you how important this is. The things that you do is tremendous value. Where sometimes you fall down is you don't communicate the value. You don't communicate all the wonderful things you're doing. You say we'll do your VAT return for you, but then you're not telling them the 6 steps that you go through every single time to ensure that VAT return is correct. And so you don't communicate the full value, and you don't even perhaps tell them of all the services that you can provide them with. And I know of loads of examples where accountancy firms have lost a client, and when they've said to them, why did you move to the other firm? It's because they provide this service. And it's like, we provide that service, right? Well, why didn't you tell me about it? And so we really need to make sure that we're communicating all this.
That understanding personal goals thing, and talking to them about what you could do at the weekend with that time. I think there's a danger of that coming across as cheesy, and that's not the way that I've seen it play out at all. My experience has been that often with our team internally, I might be frustrated about the technical level. And, they're not quite getting there yet. Maybe they've failed a couple of exams, and maybe they're not able to deliver some of the stuff that I thought they'd be able to deliver right now. I'm like, clients aren't going to be happy with this. And then you'll start getting comments coming through from clients saying, Charlie's amazing. He's there whenever I need him. He calls me and just asks me how I am. He understands exactly what I'm going through, and anything I need, he's there to sort it. And that is so important, because you can be the best accountants and technically proficient as you want to be, but the clients don't care about that bit. They care about themselves and the impact on them, and they don't care if you need to go and find the answer from your boss or from Google or from technical research or anything else. They care that you can go in with them on the journey and you're helping them to find the answers, and that is so much more important. And I think, I'm not saying that we've sussed everything out, but one of the things we've done well is just hired people that really care about our clients, and they're working for and with our clients. They're not working for me.
Yeah.
They've got a relationship with the client, they've got a duty to the client, they've got a care to the client, and they want to help that client, and that trumps everything else. Yeah.
And I know we're talking about lots of different subjects here, because in reality, you can't just talk about how you go back to a client and say, we're going to charge you more money. Everything has a knock-on effect. Demonstrating you care, providing your clients with a fantastic experience, changing their perception of you. All these things are so important. And actually, they're easy to do, really. They're the icing on the cake. Having a sign when somebody turns up with a name on it, knowing what they like to drink, having them biscuits out and stuff like that. It's easy stuff to do compared to completing annual accounts or whatever. But people fall short of doing find these amazing experiences. If you're not in the Facebook group, make sure you get in the Facebook group with some brilliant stories in there, which is really encouraging, because you've got other accountancy firms. There's 360 odd accountancy firms in there now going on the same journey as you, and you can get their support. And Douglas shared something with, I think he's on the call here the other week, which was the most seriously disturbing thing that happened this evening. and he's in shock. And it's because a client had started paying him £371 a month, and they'd gone from paying £125 a month previously. And what was interesting here was he said, I expected some sort of resistance or negotiation attempt at least, but it was, well, the client said to him was, is this it then? £371? Is that what I'll be paying now? And he smiled and he says, well, and Douglas said, well, that's what it says. That's what the system says. Still expecting a comeback. And the client said, yeah, that's fine. Worth trying at least for another year. You've been doing a great job with us. We'll be happy with that. And we expect great things from you. And so it's that first client of going back to them with this methodology and getting that first one under your belt, and then sharing that success with your team as well. And with the group, you're not on your own with this. You've got us there. You've got 360 firms just in the group with you that can cheer you on and help you. They'll all do a shout out, I promise you.
Just really important point there, just about shutting up. I used to see it from our guys in the other days all the time, is that, especially when we were starting to really ramp up our prices, is that they'll present a fee and they'll say, so it's £1,000 a month, but you don't have to use us for this. You could do this bit yourself, or maybe we could look at it. And it's like, just stop. Don't talk yourself out of something before you've even given the client a chance. And the client might come back and say it's too expensive, but there's a portion of them that are just stewing it over for a few seconds and they're about to sign up with you. So don't talk yourself out of it. It's a massive mistake, because it really affects your credibility. Because it's like saying, this is what we'd love you to be paying, but in reality, we know we're ripping you off.
Yeah,
that's what happens as soon as you start to try and justify it or try and retreat at that point.
Yeah.
Honestly, the best thing you can do is just stop talking and just allow a few seconds for them to just think about it. It doesn't mean that they're angry or that they're going to walk away because your fees are 4 times as much. It just means that your fees are 4 times as much, and they've just heard it a couple of seconds ago. So they just need a little bit of time to kind of catch up and process that in the brain.
Yeah. And them little words are really important. That's why you've got to start this with a positive mindset. I knew of an estate agent, and he was having clients barter with him. He was losing sales, and he actually recorded himself to listen to what he was saying. And what was happening was, when he was getting to the price, he was saying, it was just one word. He said, well, my clients usually pay me this. And it was just that one word that was undermining everything. And all he did was he took out the word usually, because that word usually is part apology, because you're expecting the client to enter negotiation. You should be proud of what you're charging. You should be proud that you're going to be putting this, having this amount, because on the back of it, you're going to be able to provide them with a far better level of service as well. And given the choice between the experience of pain and nothing, I would choose pain. You know, there is going to be some pain in this process. I'm not pretending that there isn't going to be, but the alternative is nothing. The alternative is what Paul was talking about earlier, which is what he's not prepared to tolerate, that stagnation, that not achieving what he wants in his life, which is the nothing part of it. I'm not prepared to take that.
Yeah, and fear is another word of using. People have a fear of repricing the clients and having those difficult conversations. I have a bigger fear of ending up with a business that I don't want, and a bigger fear of attracting the wrong clients and charging low prices and never actually being able to get what you want out of your business. That's the thing that I have a bigger fear of. So I'm going to feel fear either way. And I'd much rather take the fear of the difficult conversations I had with the clients. And I think someone once said to me that the success you have in your career, or the happiness you have, or the development you have, or whatever, is closely aligned to the number of difficult conversations that you have. No one's been successful in business by choosing the path of least resistance and avoiding the difficult conversations. They've done it by picking up the phone and tackling these issues head on.
Yeah.
So no one's saying that you should do this route because it's easier. It's just the outcomes are better. You're going to feel pain either way, and I know which one I'd rather feel.
It's an amazing line, that the fact that, you know, the fear of repricing, the fear of those difficult conversations doesn't compare to the fear of having a business that you don't want and a life that you don't want. And it's important that, you know, sometimes we don't like to say no to people, but it's to know that whenever you say no, you're always saying yes. And whenever you say yes, you're always saying no as well. They're always said at the same time. So if you say yes to a client that you're prepared for them to pay you a much lower amount, you're saying no to taking that member of staff on, you're saying no to finishing early on a Friday. But if you say no to that, then you're saying yes to something far greater. And you need to remind yourself of that as you go through this process.
And also, your team are watching you. Your team are watching your moves. If you're 1 minute standing up talking about your vision, this amazing strategy you put together, we're only going to work with clients like this who pay this, and 2 weeks later, you've just discounted your services to a client or brought in a client that was completely different from the profile that you talked about in your vision. You're losing credibility instantly with your team. I got to the point where I was telling our team we're not going to sign that client. So they were encouraging me that we should, because we need the revenue. And everyone was like, guys, that's not the vision. That's not the strategy that we agreed. They thought I would be happy that they were bringing new business to the table. It's like, great that you're doing that, but we agreed what the new clients need to look like. So your team are watching you. You know, you have an obligation to them as well. And there's maybe numerous of them, depending on how big your firm is. So this isn't just about you anymore. It's about the impact you're having on all the people that are watching as well.
Yeah, that's great. And we do turn clients away, and we do exit clients that we have in our firm as well. And we have them in the budget. So we can see when, if things don't change with them, when we will be exiting them, and we budgeted for that as well.
Yeah, and we're tiny. We've got 130 clients. We've only been going 4.5 years, and we offload clients on a regular basis. There's not a quarter that goes by where we don't exit at least a couple of clients, because we're constantly raising the bar in terms of what quality looks like for us. And there's so many criteria in terms of the ideal client. It's no longer black and white tangible things anymore. It's, we're entering a relationship here. Does this person value what we do, respect what we do, have ambitions to grow and improve? And if they don't have all of that, if they're not responsive to us when we're trying to work with them and chase for information, it doesn't really matter how good the business is or how much money they pay you or what industry they're in. It's not going to work. We've had real trouble with this when we're working like referrers. So we might get like an insurance broker refer a client to us, and we'll say we're not going to take that client on. We've had a meeting, we're not going to take them on. They say, oh, why not? They want to work with you, and we work with them. And I know it can be a bit of a pain in the arse, but honestly, it'll be fine. They'll always pay on time. What we explain to them is this isn't a transactional business. You're providing insurance. You might meet them once a year if they're lucky, but really what you're doing is behind the scenes. What we're doing is very front facing. So the impact of having a client who has a negative impact on your employees is huge, because your employees, all of them, are dealing with these clients on a week-to-week basis. There's no way, however hard you fight, you can make them happy and enjoy the role if they're working with clients that they don't enjoy working with.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. So when we're in a meeting, we can get objections from them. So when you're presenting them with a set of fees, and I'm just going to actually just caveat a point that Paul said there. I know a lot of accountancy firms say, a lot of people in this space are talking to accountancy firms saying you should exit all your bad clients. We're not saying you should exit your bad clients, because you have an obligation to make those bad clients great. But great clients don't exist. You make them great by training them, by educating them, by helping them. For my previous accountant, I was the pain in the arse client. I was paying £100 a month, £150 a month. He tried to upsell me to £250 a month, and I turned him down because I couldn't see the value in it. And I left and I came to my accounting place. I don't even know what I pay now, but it's well over £1,000 a month. But even at the time, it was like £550 a month.
Yeah.
But I could see the value in it because Paul had been through the correct process. And I know that my previous accountant is saying, I'm glad James went because it was a pain in the backside. So we're not saying exit all of your clients, because you have that obligation to make your bad clients great. But you can only go so far. Bad clients do exist, but probably not as many as you think you've got.
That's really good. And just have no regrets. Just, if we're going to exit a client, what I want to be able to say to our staff is, show me what we've done to try and make this client a good client. Have we been through everything on our side that we could have done to try and help this to become a good client? It's like the time frames that you talked about before. We'll often put a marker in the sand and say, look, if this client, if they're not getting what they need from us and we're not getting what we need from them by this point, then they're going to have to go. But we're not just making slapstick decisions here overnight. We're giving it every chance it can to be successful, and some people just aren't going to turn it around, but some are.
So we're going to get into the meeting now, where you've been through this process that we've shared with you. You've positioned it correctly. You've been through the full gloss review. You're now sat in front of the client. The rubber's hit the road. You've presented them your new set of fees, and now they're going to come back to you. And so we're just going to go through a section here called objection handling. But the first thing I just want to make you aware of is you don't have to handle them. Just because somebody's complaining about the price or whinging or not happy about the price, that doesn't mean to say it's an objection. You can say to a client, right, you've been paying us £100 a month, now it's going to be £400 a month. And that's way more than we wanted to pay. That's far too expensive than we're currently happy to pay for our accountancy firm, right? You don't have to handle it. That's fine. And just think back to yourself. How many times have you bought something that was way more than you'd intended to buy to start with? And it's not that you're not going to buy it, and it's not that you don't see the value. It just might have been more than you'd originally anticipated. So don't feel the need to apologize. Don't feel the need to handle objections. It's absolutely fine. They may just be complaining. But a really good way to do that, if you need to, is with what's called feel, felt, found. So if somebody says to me, that is way more than we were expecting, that is a lot more than we thought we'd have to pay for this. It's a really nice process to say, I completely understand how you feel. Other clients that we've been through this process with have felt the same. But what they found as we've gone through this journey with them is that the value they're going to get, the time they've started to get back, the visibility over their numbers that they've started to have is paled the price, and the price has not been important. So I appreciate that it may be more than you thought, but as you move forward, they have not found that at all. And so it's really good that, because it kind of provides them with proof that other people have been on this same journey. So feel, felt, found is a really nice process to take them through. One of the things that you can do, and I don't want to give you a get out, I'm not giving you get outs here, but if you have a significant price increase, it could be that you stagger that price increase. And there's a couple of ways you could do that. So let's say they're going from £250 to £750 a month. You may say, we're going to start to give you this is what it should be worth, 750, but because you're a fantastic client, we're going to start to give you that value now, but to help you to transition into that, for the next year, we're going to charge it at £500, and then the year after that, it's going to jump up to £750. That's one way you can stagger it. So you give them the value, but you stagger the price increase. The other way that you do it is to say what Paul said, which is, actually, it should be £750. If you want £500 now, we're going to drop the level of service as well, which I know is what you would do, but you do have both options in the locker.
Yeah, and actually have access to their finances, which you should have to be able to say, look, according to the budget that we've got in place at this point, it's going to be much easier for you to digest that kind of fee.
One of the other challenges that people can have is if you currently have clients paying you annually and now you want them to move over to paying monthly, which for us is the only way to go, because we want a monthly recurring revenue model in our accountancy firm. But also, if you're not charging monthly, it's much more difficult to have those incremental changes throughout the year as their bookkeeping requirement increases, for example. And so you have to hit them with a big bill if you're going to do that, which is not great. And so if you think about it, you really need to be on that monthly recurring revenue model. But let's say you've got to the end of the year with a client where they now have to pay you £1,200 to handle last year's fee, and you now want them to move over to paying you £200 a month moving forward. They've still got that £1,200 bill that they've got to hit, that you're going to hit them with. But it will help their cash flow in the long run. So one way that you can help to position that is to say, look, we're going to move you over to £200 a month moving forward because you've had a fee increase paying monthly. And that £1,200, we're also going to set up a monthly payment for that as well, which we are going to spread over the next 4 months or 3 months or 6 months or whatever you think is appropriate for your firm. So you may say that we'll spread the £1,200 over the next 6 months for you to handle that. And we're going to set you up for £200 a month moving forward. And so that can be how you transition them over into that paying monthly. The other thing is that when we did a change last year or the year before, we'd also partnered up with another firm where we were selling clients to them for the fees. And having that in your locker where you've actually researched another firm that you know may be a better fit, you know may charge a little bit less, is to say, look, we desperately want to work with you, but this is the value that we're providing you with now, and this is what it's going to cost. We understand that's maybe not a right fit for you, and we have sourced another alternative for you. We're not just going to kind of kick you out the door. We found that for you as well.
I can't emphasize enough the importance of that point. It might sound like a small thing, but what you find is that often the reason that people struggle to have these conversations is because they've not got an outlet for the client. So what happens if the client is just so upset with the fee increase and now they've got nowhere to go and they feel like they have been pushed into a corner because you've given this high fee, which they don't feel like they can pay. Now they've got no one to look after their account. It's really important that you have another option for them. And some of you will know this from direct experience because we pass out a lot of leads to the GoProposal network. We will categorically say to a client that this is a better accountancy firm for you. Not, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to pass you to another firm who's cheaper than us. That can't be the answer. It has to be, Gareth's on here now. We've passed you a few leads from the technology industry, again, closely aligned, closely linked to the industry that we serve, but very different business models. And we say, look, our expertise isn't in technology business. Gareth is the expert in that area, in that field. And I suggest you go and speak to him, because he's got lots of other technology businesses. He's really clued up on funding and the KPIs that technology businesses need to track themselves against, and very quickly he'll be able to give you insights into your business compared to other businesses that he's working with that I can't give. So the ability to be able to say that to a client moves you from saying, apologizing and saying that this is a step down, to the client thanking you. And there's no stronger endorsement for this next accountancy firm than you as an accountancy firm, because most of us don't like to say how good our competitors are or the good other accountancy firms are. So for you to actually come forward and say these are the right firm for you, it's such a powerful thing to do. And we do that more than we take on clients. I haven't got the ratios, the data in front of me, but certainly more than 50% of the leads that come into this business go to another firm, and we don't deal with them here. And we take through the whole discovery call process and hand that to the accountant as a lead. I know we're talking about existing clients here, but that's what we do with leads. But there's a similar thing with existing clients. Like you said, we had 35 clients that we had built up over the first few years, and we actually sold them to another accountancy firm. And maybe out of the 35, maybe about 3 didn't move over. Maybe 1 or 2 were a bit pissed off with us, and the rest went, and they were really happy, and they got an accountancy firm that we'd done our due diligence on, and they're really looking after them, and we got paid for that first year's fees. Just really important, you've got another option for your clients. Otherwise, you will struggle, and your staff will definitely struggle in having these conversations, because you don't want to let people down.
Yeah, and it takes a bit of the risk away. If you know that you can get the fees as well for that client, you've bought yourself a bit of time to kind of, get those fees from other clients as well. And this is the point that Paul said before, which is you can either pay the price you're paying now or get the services you're getting now. But you can't have the services you're getting now for the price you're paying now, because things have changed. Yeah. And so I think that's a great line to have in your locker. Marie Donaldson is a fantastic fan of GoProposal and a great advocate in the group, and shares a lot of great content. I found this a while back, from last year. And so she met with an existing client and did a fee review, and it was going to be 5 times their current price, but they agreed to a 3 times increase this year, moving up to a full price increase next year, which is far more than she would have expected, and she wouldn't have been able to without GoProposal having that as a backup as well. But it's just is the better way to stagger that fee increase. She's not doing 5 times more work for 3 times the fee. She's increasing it by 3 times and then by 5 times. That's a really nice way to stagger it with the client as well. Now, throughout this process, I've just got some ideas that I want to share with you here about what I'm calling sweeteners. So as well, you're not just repricing the client, you're also going to be understanding their personal goals. You're also going to be adding in additional services there. But I think there are some other sweeteners that is very easy for you to add into there. They're not going to be the deal breaker or the deal maker, but I think they're just some nice to haves. So one of them that we have, because we have a minimum monthly fee of £200 a month. Used to.
500 now.
We used to have a minimum monthly fee of £200 a month, because we couldn't deliver the value we needed to, because we know we want to have phone calls with our clients, want to do various other things with our clients. We cannot possibly deliver that value of service for anything less. Now it's gone up to £500. Did I sign that off? Was I involved in signing that off?
We do have a caveat to it, which is that if we have like a rising star, so a promising business that's maybe in their infancy, and £500 is prohibitive for them, then we will consider £200, because we know that they're going to be a £500 plus client within 12 months. Then we'll do it. But yeah, the £200 was exactly that. It's because we need to be able to have monthly calls with you. A really important one is we want to be able to have ad hoc meetings. We don't want you in a position where you're scared to come in for a coffee or a chat, because we're going to have to add it onto your bill. So we need to be able to build in a bit of here when you need us, and actually mean it without it affecting our profit margin so much. So in order for us to do all these things for you, that is what we need to charge. And if that's not for you, then it's not going to work, because that's not our strategy, it's not vision, it's not what's going to entertain our staff and reward them, and it's not what's going to reward our business owner clients either.
So we have a monthly catch-up call with every client.
Yeah.
Things like monthly, quarterly breakfast events or drop-ins.
Yeah.
These can be really nice because it's a scalable solution, because you're not saying you can come in individually, but we're actually going to put these events on for our clients now, where you can come in, you can ask us different questions. We'll do a 10-minute talk on whatever you guys talk about.
Network with one another.
Yeah.
Your own challenges and talk to the business owners around the room. Yeah.
So that's a nice thing that you can put on there. Webinars, just like we're doing now, you can have like a drop-in webinar once a month where they can, call it office hours or whatever, where they can log in. You have a different member of staff delivering that webinar if you're technically minded, whereby they always know they've got that 1 hour slot where they can call in and they can ask you whatever questions that they want. Again, it's a scalable solution because you're only committing to 1 hour a month or whatever that may look like. Another one is extra staff. As you increase your fees and start charging properly, you'll probably be able to take on extra staff perhaps, or certainly support staff. And just the fact that they know that they have that now. So we take on another support manager or a client coordinator to help you, to make sure that you're not having to fumble around for all your information. We're going to support you with that.
Yeah.
And another really nice one, this is always so easy, I don't know why people don't do this one, is having out of hours phone support. So we use a company called Penelope. Their next level of service up is called Moneypenny. What they will do is they will answer the phone 24/7 for you. Now, they're not going to answer questions at Penelope level. At Moneypenny, they can answer some questions. But what they will do is they'll say, let me take a message for you. I'll email the team. They're not available right now, but you will be contacted within 4 working hours. But again, the perception of that to the client, to know that if on a Sunday, when they're going through the numbers and they're just a bit frustrated or worried about something, that they can call, they can get their comments and their concerns registered, and that is then going to be sat in your chat box ready to go the next day. And from that, there's ways that you can actually trigger tasks off in your company to call them back. I think it's a really nice value add. It's like 50 quid a month, for a limited number of calls. But for that small amount, you can really raise the perception.
Yeah. The key word in all of that is sweetener. So these are not things that you lead with. No, none of your clients want to receive a call to say we're tripling your fees, but you're going to get a monthly call and we're running a webinar.
Or you can have some croissants once a month.
Yeah, these are lovely sweeteners. We're both massive fans of Dan Priestley, and he talks about the idea of adding extras on top. He's not the only person, but the idea of delivering above expectation. So these are some of the things that maybe if they bite back and they're really challenging, you can say we're doing all these other things, but ideally these are just things that you end up giving them afterwards that you didn't expect. This is above expectation. The things that you want to be leading with really is more like the gloss review slide, which is that in order for us to help you, what's really important to us now as a firm of entrepreneurial accountants is that we really get into your shoes and understand what your personal and business goals are, understand where your business is at now and how we take you along that journey, because that's what's keeping them up at night. That's what annoys them, what frustrates them, is that they've got all these grand plans and they're not achieving them. Days are going by, weeks are going by, months are going by, years are going by, and they don't feel like they're moving forward and getting what they want out of the business. So the reason that your prices are increasing, the reason that you're offering more services is because you want to help them to do that.
Yeah.
And these things are sweetness.
There's one thing we've not mentioned here, but actually we don't compete with other accounting firms. We're providing the full finance function to our clients. And so what we kind of get them to compare us to is not the other accountancy firm down the road, but to if they was to employ their own FC, their own FD, their own bookkeeper, which is going to cost you hundreds of thousands a year. For us, it's going to cost whatever, £24,000 a year or £12,000 a year, whatever, which is a far smaller fee than if they was to bring these people in themselves. Just making sure that you're comparing it to the right thing. I'll just put this slide in here because I don't know if he's on the call, Nick from Robson Laidler, but when we started going through this process with, see if he's there, with Nick. He is there, Nick Wilson in the house. They had a firm of hairdressers they were working with, and I'm not showing anything he's not shared in the Facebook group here. But this client, if I remember rightly, was paying £100 a month, I seem to think, and they'd gone back to them previously and tried to upsell them to £150 a month. But this hairdresser couldn't see the value in the increase because it wasn't enough. They weren't doing enough for that. Therefore, in their minds, they had concluded that these were price-sensitive clients, that they didn't value accountancy services, they were never going to pay any more. Nick took these principles that I'm sharing with you today, went back in, presented the full value, didn't assume that they couldn't afford it. He showed them what they should be getting, and they came out of that meeting, and the client willingly and happily signed up to, I think it was £732 a month. It was an incredible increase that they had with that. And the client was happy because now they're getting the full value. And it's not that, we're selling them more than they should be getting. We're selling them now what they need. And so not only is Nick's business doing better, but also the client's business is going to be doing better moving forward as well. This is a quote from a great friend of mine. Everything you've ever wanted is just on the other side of the decision you're not prepared to make. And we have got some difficult decisions perhaps in this process, but it's everything you want is just on the other side. That's why we need to remind ourselves why we're doing it. So we're getting into the home straight now, guys, of actually preparing to take off for this. And I want to just share a few things with you to really help you to make sure this is going to be a success. So a notion of categorizing your clients has come up. And on the talk I did with Kieran last week, he had this idea of categorizing price sensitive clients and kind of value clients who he knew he wouldn't have a problem with. And that's fine to do that. And it may help you to decide who you kind of want to attack first. But categorizing clients, as fun as an exercise can be, can also then create excuses because you then become fearful of attacking one of the categories, where the reality is you're going for them all anyway. You're doing this with everybody. So there is an argument to categorize, and you can do that, but it can also prevent you from doing what you ultimately need to do, which is just to work through all of your clients. You could categorize them by when their year end is, and therefore we're going to do a fee review 2 months before year end or whatever that's going to look like. But whatever method you categorize them by, make sure you're not doing it to create an excuse for yourself. Make sure that it actually serves your mission in terms of what you're about to do here.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said there for building momentum. So there's nothing wrong with picking some of the low-hanging fruit initially to get momentum and breed success and say to your team, told you so, I told you this can work, because they might be a little bit resistant at first. You are going to get, a best case scenario, you're going to have some clients that are resistant and disappointed at the fee increase. And worst case scenario, you're going to get some who are really pissed off. And until you're ready to accept that, you're never going to get going with this. But it's kind of not the quite right question to ask yourself is, are all my clients going to be okay with this? It's not the right question. Is your business going to be better as a result of going through this process is a better question, because absolutely they're not all going to be okay with it. You're going to have some really difficult conversations along the way. Ideally, you won't start with those difficult conversations and end up feeling negative from the start. You think about the cold call salesman who has to have call after call after call after call of rejection before they get some acceptance. We're not at that level, and nor are we very good at that as accountants. That's why we're not salespeople. But as a business owner, fundamentally, you do need to have an element of selling ability to you. But a way to soften that a little bit is let's just get some momentum, because it's amazing what scores on the board can do for you. When you start seeing those numbers come through and you start getting some momentum, it's amazing how far that can take you.
The next one is to leverage your team. I can't stress the importance of this enough. When I first met Paul at MAP, they had 13 members of staff, one salesperson, which is essentially you. And what I did was I created a sales culture, because ultimately your team are on the front line with your clients. Your team know the challenges they're facing. Your team are the one that should be making the promises to them, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to be delivering to them. Now, you do need to educate your team on consultative selling and things like this. But the bigger thing that you need to do with your team is to communicate with them why we're doing this. Because just as your clients don't care about you as much as you like to think that they do, your team don't care about you as much as you'd like to think they do as well. And sorry if there's any team members on here as well, and put anyone in a difficult position there, but they don't care about you that much. They care about themselves, and rightly so. And so if you're going to get your team on board, you need to communicate what is in it for them. Why should they come on this journey? Why should they have difficult conversations with your clients? But if you can present it in such a way that, look, we're going to be removing some of our more challenging clients. The clients we have are going to be paying us much more. They're going to be valuing us a lot more. It means that we're going to be able to use that money to reinvest in maybe a support member of staff to help you. It may could involve a pay rise. It could involve bonuses. It could be that we're going to go on a special event. We're booking a trip to Ibiza at the moment if we hit all of our targets for our team. So there can be all benefits that come out of this. But if you communicate that to your team, then that's how you're going to leverage them. But your team are your greatest asset. The thought of you having to reprice all of your clients is a real challenge. But if you can leverage your 5, 10, 20 team or one other member of staff on this journey, it will make it a lot easier for you. We then need to put a plan in place to actually reprice all of your clients. And what I would say to this is you can't go longer than 12 months. Whatever that plan looks like, it can't take any longer than 12 months for you to reprice all of your clients. It just depends how fast you want to go with this. I know Kieran and I think Logan Khan in the group as well did it in maybe 3 months because they decided how important it was to them. They saw the value in it and they went for it. But whatever you do, you know how many clients you've got, you know how many staff you've got. GoProposal's made this much easier for you. And it's going to be a much quicker, slicker process for you now and a better experience for the client. But you still know that you've got to arrange these meetings, book these meetings, and get through them as well. So you need to make a list of those clients, however many you've got, and decide over what period of time you should do this, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, but certainly no longer than 12 months. If it's longer than 12 months, you're coming up with excuses because everyone should have got to their year end in that time. And then the trick is to do the first one. We're just asking you to do one to build momentum. And I would find a good one that likes you, one who you know you should be servicing more, one who'll be honest with you and have a good chat with you, you know, one who you can maybe have a pint with while you do it, but someone who's on side already and is going to be a good one that you know you can increase to start with. Start with a good one and get it under your belt. Make it easy and then present that back to your team. Celebrate the win. Show them how easy it is because I believe that both you and your team will be surprised at how easy this process is. A lot of the fears you've got are just built up in our mind, but when you get into this, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the positive feedback you'll get. You can have clients be pissed off with you for increasing the fee. You'll also get clients who are pissed off with you because you've not been giving them enough value in the past. And they'll be like, why haven't you told me about this now? Why haven't you been servicing me at this level? And so it's not all negative. You will get a lot of positivity that come from this. And I think above all, you know, one of our core values is to demonstrate that you care. So long as your intention is communicated correctly throughout this process and that you're ultimately there to service the client and genuinely help their business, genuinely help them to achieve their business goals and personal goals, I don't think you can go too far wrong with this either. If you don't control your environment, somebody else will. And that could be clients and it could be staff. I have seen this process derailed by a member of staff saying this will never work. And then they convince you that this will never work. And it's the reality is that they don't believe it will work. It's not that your clients don't value what you do or your clients aren't going to pay you more. It's that member of staff doesn't really value what you do or see the value or think you're going to pay more. And I've seen staff, office managers or senior members of staff derail all the partners. And I've even seen it where you've proven it in your partner as a partner and your group of clients, you've double, triple, quadruple fees. And then another partner doesn't believe that that's actually going to work for them. Or you could have 4 partners believe in it and 4 that don't. And it's, again, probably because they've not all communicated their reason why we want to do this. We have to get those agendas out. So just be wary of people who are going to derail this process. And a good way to spot them, they say 2 words, yeah, but. A yeah, but is a no in disguise. You present it to your office manager, yeah, but this client will never pay that. Yeah, but they'll never do that. Yeah, but it won't work in this town. Yeah, but this accounting firm charges less. Beware of those people. And we did lose staff, not as a direct result of this process, but when we started to systemize and change what we did. But the team we have in there now are absolutely incredible. So be prepared for that. And the final thing I also want to share with you guys is that no journey starts by making one decision that's going to get you to the end of it. It has to start by making the first decision, which is to get going with this. But when a rocket takes off to the moon, they don't just say, right, we're going this way and put the foot down and they end up at the moon. They make thousands of incremental decisions along the way, but the hardest decision they make, the one that takes up most energy, is the one that gets them off the launch pad. And I think it's something like 80% of all the fuel is burnt up in launching it. The most difficult one that you'll take on is that first client, but it's to understand that the decisions you make and the methods that we've shared with you here don't have to be adopted 100% as you move through, because you're going to do the first client and think, you know what, we should have said this. You know what, we should have presented that. All you have to do is decide to do the first client, and then you're going to make an incremental change for the next one and an incremental change. Sometimes you see, oh, I've got 1,000 clients to reprice. No, you don't. You've got 1 client to reprice. Even my son, Leo, 8 years old, knows the way you eat an elephant is 1 mouthful at a time. And so don't see this as one massive body of of clients that you've got to get through. It's just one client that you've got to get through. And we're here with you on this journey.
Well, we're just going to jump straight into questions because we've got lots of them. So just want to make sure that we're answering them all for you before you have to get back to your busy days. So I'm just going to scroll through here and pick them out. I'm going to answer every single one. Well, between me and James, we are. Eleanor's was more of a statement rather than a question initially, which is about relating to frustrations that we've talked about. She takes it out on staff if they don't charge enough and they're not supported by me to know what to charge or just follow historical ways of working. The beauty of GoProposal, Eleanor, is that it makes this objective. You can't leave it subjective because the role of your client managers, account managers, staff, whatever you want to call them, is to please the client. And increasing the price that a client's paying is by default not pleasing the client. So your job is to set the prices and make this very objective. The moment you leave any wriggle room, your staff will wriggle out of it. Their job is to help the client to choose the right services. It is not to choose the prices. And that is what GoProposal is tackling. This isn't just a beautiful looking proposals and engagement letter tool. It is that, but it's also about objectively setting the right price so that you don't leave this stuff to chance. Because if you leave it to chance, it will fail.
Yeah, what's really important with GoProposal is don't design it for you to use, design it for somebody else to use. And you've got to get all of that thinking out of your head. Whatever you think has to come back to you, because only you can make this decision about these type of clients or these type of pricing. It's not true. There's always a methodology to get it out of your head. And you can't have 80% of your thinking in GoProposal, but 20% has to come back to you. Or 100% of your thinking has to be in GoProposal. Design it for somebody else. This is a system. If you don't have that, your business is run on people. You need a business that runs on systems where the people run the system. GoProposal is perhaps the most important system because it's the pricing system that enables you to deliver the value.
Mark Lawson is asking, how can we discuss value within fixed fees, especially regarding meetings and one-off advice, and present variations of low, medium, high? I don't know if you mean, Mark, how can you discuss it with me and James at GoProposal, or how can you discuss it with your clients? But all I'd say is that when you sign up for GoProposal, you've got the original My Accountancy Place service offering. So in there is all my thinking in terms of how I did it. So that's one thing to say. But there's another thing to say which relates to another question further down, which is don't wait until you've got it, till you're 100% happy, because you'll never be happy. You know, I can't remember. There can't be many weeks that have gone by in the last 2 years of us using this system where we've not changed something in GoProposal. Just live all the time, iterating it and improving it. It's never going to be the finished article. Do not wait until you are 100% happy, because you'll change your mind tomorrow. You've got to get the best version of what you can currently put together today in terms of pricing. There's no textbook on how to do this. There's no structure to follow in terms of this is how much you need to charge for this. I didn't follow any guidance there. It's just experience. I just put my best estimate together of what I think we need to offer and what people need to pay. But lots of people will argue with it, and I argue with it myself by continuing to iterate it. So you've just got to work out what's right for you. And I believe that's what the best business owners do. They work out what's, based on the information they've got available to them now, what's the best they can do, and then just go and do it.
Just that low, medium, high pricing idea again, Mark. Well, I do kind of go against that a little bit. And the analogy I always give is if you was to go in for surgery and the surgeon said, right, okay, we've got 3 options. How many stitches do you want? We've got our gold package of 10 stitches, or we've got a silver package of 8 stitches. You'd be like, just put enough stitches in this so I don't die, right? It's the same with your business, with your clients. If you've been through the correct process that we've outlined here with regards to the gloss process, there shouldn't be options for them. It's not. I don't think it's fair for you to put that responsibility on them, because the business. We all know 8% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. 80% of those fail in the following 5 years. And the reason the majority of them fail is because they've got the finance and the cash flow wrong. What you provide is the lifeblood to that business and help sure that it stays alive. We can't allow that responsibility to be passed to the client. As the expert, as the consultative sales expert, you should be telling them what they need by prescribing the exact level of service they need.
And I suppose your question could mean a bit of that is, how do you decide which clients pay the low, the medium or high? So for example, year-end accounts, how do you decide whether one pays more than the other? Well, we went for turnover, and that's not perfect. You know, every now and then there'll be a business that comes in that's doing a few £300,000 worth of turnover and has 1,000 transactions, and there'll be another one that comes in, it's £1 million turnover and it has half the number of transactions, but it's never going to be perfect. And I don't know the secret answer. That's just the best method I could come up with. And sometimes we'll lose and sometimes we'll win. But as a result of choosing the thing that we felt best represents, our best go at representing fairness, is what we went for. So we've not wasted a couple of years charging low prices. We've gone for what felt right, and we continue to iterate it, change the bands and change the pricing within it. Lots of people asking for the book, gloss review details. That's fine. We can do all that afterwards. Completely people. Keith said we're the worst at talking ourselves out of money by losing confidence in the original quote automatically. Yeah, as I say, Keith, I didn't realise that we would experience that either. That's not something that anyone taught me. It's just what we saw in those early days is that is people starting to retreat. And if there's any training you can give to your staff, it's about empathy and it's about how to put yourself in the shoes of the person across the other side of the table. I think what business owners are good at is understanding, we're not, we can't telepathically work out exactly what everyone's thinking, but you have an idea of what's going on across the table. And often if you've not had that training and you're not naturally that way akin, you make the wrong assumptions about what people are thinking. So it's important to give your team that training to just be quiet and just let the client speak and feed off them.
Helen's asked there about what your clients look like. I've done an article about this that again I can share, Eleanor. And again, I think a lot of people talk about niching, and it's very difficult, especially if you're a smaller firm and you're starting out, as to what your ideal client should look like. And the answer is you've no idea. You've just got to get stuck into the thick of it, and you kind of figure out along the way the clients that you're aligned with, the clients that you enjoy working with, the ones that you enjoy picking up the phone to, that can pay you, that value your service, And sometimes people try and pick an industry, but it may not be an industry. It may be, people that like playing golf. It may be, all different people who drive 4x4 trucks. It could be anything that you're just aligned with that works for you, and you don't know until you've reviewed what you're doing.
And when you choose it, get ready for everyone to start questioning it and doubting you.
Yeah,
because that still happens to me honestly every day. Yesterday I had a company come in. I told them what we've built and what we're building, and we're growing at a reasonable rate. And their question was, why would you keep this just the digital creative industry? I was like, well, we've probably got less than 0.001% of the industry at the moment, so I think we're happy to keep going. It's not like we're going to take over this industry anytime soon and run out of clients to go after. I think we'll be okay. Why would I disrupt this model by having to learn a new industry, new way of marketing, and new psychology for different people in different businesses, the nature of those businesses, how to service them, the KPIs, how to price them, etc., when we've got an industry here that's working perfectly well for us? So the default that people won't be able to understand why you would narrow yourself down to an industry, and it's rubbish. It's the best way to get focused and start to get control of your business. Don't start to justify taking on other clients because they're profitable and likable and value. They can tick all those boxes, but they're not part of your strategy. There's so many things that goes into a strategy, because operationally you need to be able to be slick at servicing those clients as well. Otherwise, you just constantly pressing the reset button and going through that learning curve of having to understand that client and that industry again. So just choose something and focus on it, and don't allow yourself to get distracted by shiny object syndrome.
And also, Eleanor asking, what did I not see in the value of my old accountant? It was the fact that they were trying to sell me more time, and I didn't want time. I wasn't interested in buying time from them. I was interested in solving problems in my business, and they were trying to sell me more bookkeeping time, where at the time I wanted Receipt Bank, and they didn't really know much about Receipt Bank. I'm like, why would I buy all this time from a bookkeeping service when I know that Receipt Bank and everything set up correctly could actually save me a lot of time here? And I don't mind paying the money, but I want to be investing in things that I'm going to see the value from. And so I was more educated about technology than my accountancy firm was. And I think it's like parting words were, we're going to get Receipt Bank next year. And I'm like, okay, see ya, because I'm off, I'm going.
Yeah. Can you repeat feel, felt, found? So for your benefit, Stuart, feel is I understand how you feel. So maybe a client's bitten back, a bit of frustration. I understand how you feel. We have had other clients who have felt the same. So you're showing that they're part of, there's other people who have felt just like you have. And then this is the key bit, is what they found is, So I guess they want to see what's happened to other people on the other side of this difficult decision. What have they found? What has the experience been to them, so that they can predict what it's going to be like for them. So that's the idea of that concept. Eleanor asking, how do we get leads? Where do the ones come from? You don't. So lots of ways we get leads, which is the rubbish answer. Sometimes
another webinar.
Yeah,
that one.
Sometimes we can't get to the bottom of it because they've come from lots of different sources. However, we do know that more and more we prove that others that advise the industry that we advise are the best source of new business. So I'm talking about advisors, mentors, non-execs, insurance companies, R&D tax companies, consultants, solicitors that service the digital creative industry will be telling other digital creatives, you need to speak to Matt because of their specialism, not because the house is on fire and you're pissed off with your current accountant, but because they can do more for your business. That's been the best source of high quality business. The leads that we don't want, sometimes that'll come from referral. You know, despite us shouting and shouting and shouting about it and my adamancy that we only work with this industry, we still get referrals to one of our clients' mates who's a plumber. And we have to explain to the client straight away and just be really clear that we're not right for them, but we will put them in great hands. They will have a specialist accountancy firm that work exactly with the kind of client that you've passed across.
Paul Wintersgill there saying, great advice, thank you. Just need to get your pricing structure right first. A couple of things. You don't have to get it 100% right. What we've given you there is pretty strong as it is. And so don't spend too long, you know, unpicking everything and trying to get it perfect. It doesn't need to be. And sometimes, I'm not saying this is the case with you, Paul, but sometimes people can use that as an excuse, you know, not getting it 100% right, which is why they've not had that first meeting. But actually there's other fears that we have, which should hopefully help to alleviate.
It can be an excuse, or just because you think it's going to take longer than it is. You think this is such a long process because you've got to get it right. My advice would be set a deadline. You know, I've got Friday afternoon booked out to agree all my prices.
Yeah.
And wherever I'm at by 5 o'clock on Friday, or by the time I've left the office, that is going live on Monday morning. Yeah. Simple as that. So you know, it's just the common example of when, whatever, working to your exams or whatever, you stay up late the night before. Just make sure that you have that deadline, otherwise it won't happen. And just crack on.
Duncan asking there, do you have the details of the script for a discovery call? Yeah, we do. It's in my book, Selling to Serve, which I have a copy here, Duncan. And if you've not got a copy, we'll get your name on it. Olivia, can we get one? Oh, we'll get, okay. Olivia's on that already. She's sorting it out. She'll get one to you. We'll also send you through the details of the gloss review. How did you choose your niche, Paul?
That's fantastic. I started BNI in the other days. BNI was amazing for me in the early days. I would never dream of doing it now. So what was right for me then is not right for me now. I wouldn't have been able to set up properly without BNI. A number of the people in that room happened to be in the digital creative industry, got on really well with them, kind of people I'd go for a pint with. Not great with numbers, which meant that they really respected and valued what we could bring to the table. We're in Manchester, which is right up there with digital creative hotspots. It's a fast-growing industry. A lot of them were already using cloud accounting. We didn't need to sell the benefits of cloud accounting because they are digital people. So hopefully that's enough reasons. All of the above.
We'll be sending a recording of this out for people asking that if they've only just joined fairly late on. Just have a look through some questions here as well. Do you agree with emailing all of your clients out about the fact that increasing fees is going forward? I think just to reiterate what we said earlier, whatever you do, it can't be a blanket thing. And it's not about a fee increase. It's about how we can give you more value. So if you are going to position this as a blanket email, it's just to make sure that you're explaining that you're changing your model slightly to ensure that we can give more value to our clients, so we can serve you better, make sure that we're communicating all of the ways that we can value you and to really understand your personal goals. So I think if you were to frame something up en masse, I would be doing it around that rather than saying you got a fee increase on the way.
Ours was like a broadcast email about used to be called annual returns and then became confirmation statements. And there was like an extra bit of admin to file them. There was more reporting structure. So we said they're going up from like £3 to £6. All hell broke loose from that extra £3 because of the way that we communicated it. And the clients were right. Because we were just saying your fees are increasing. It's just a broadcast email and they knew it was.
Yeah.
And basically gave them no choice. And it really was the wrong way to do it. Have a look in your diary and see when you're already due to see the client and add it onto that. And if it's too far away, then have a meeting that does cover this, but the meeting doesn't have to be exclusively for that. So if there's something else you would love to talk to the client about, tie that in with a fee review.
Phil's saying a great question here, which is about any pointers on service delivery structure. And as I said before, everything's connected. Everything's connected in your business. And so you can't talk about selling without talking about the value that you're delivering. Because if deep down you don't believe, and I'm not suggesting this with yourself, Phil, but if you don't believe that if I then sell this service that it's going to be absolutely incredible, then you can't sell it, because first and foremost, the first sale you have to make is to yourself. And so we're always juggling these two things, and we're always trying to improve our service delivery. It's something we constantly on at. We have checklists after checklists for absolutely everything. We have a lot of automation in place that we use.
They've all become sales tools as well.
Yeah.
So I'll talk categorically about our processes and the systems that we follow to our clients, because I know that they've been let down before. I know that they've let their clients down before. And often it's because you left things up to the staff to decide what to do rather than having systems and processes in place. So I'll explain to our client and build rapport with them to explain that if I just left this up to my staff, you would get let down at some point. So these are the systems and processes that we put in place. To answer your question, what hints and tips can we give them? You shared something really clever recently, which was about a process and a procedure and an audit. I can't remember what the words were. But just having a checklist will not be enough. That will leave you really frustrated because your people won't follow it. You need to have an audit to make sure that they are following it. And
yes, I can't remember what it was. It was like an off the cuff one. But yeah, you've got to have a process that you're going to follow. You have a process which everyone's going to follow, a procedure which ensure it gets delivered every time, and then an audit to make sure it gets checked, that it gets done. Whatever you expect, you have to inspect. There has to be an inspection process for everything to make sure that you're delivering on that. As you know, GoProposal integrates with Carbon. Carbon's a great workflow management system if you want to check that out. And so every time a proposal is accepted, any workflows are automatically triggered in Carbon as well.
But what most of us do is jump into the process or the checklist, then move on to the next one, and then get pissed off when we find out that people aren't following it.
Yeah, because they're not on the check.
Not enough just to put it live.
Yeah.
Work at it and make sure you've got the right procedures and checks in place.
And what Paul said about communicating it to the client, if you just think about something like payroll, this is an observation we had. If you think about something like payroll, there's so many things that you've got to do to get payroll right. You've got to speak to the client. You've got to make sure that are there any expenses, are there any bonuses this month. You've then got to get that information together, produce the pay slips, put them somewhere, do all your accountancy stuff that you guys love to do, right? And what you don't then do is communicate all that to the client. We now have that entire process mapped out because we stick to it rigidly, but we then show that to the client and say, you're not just getting payroll from us. This is the system we will be implementing into your business. We show them our checklist. We show them what our staff do and where they interact with it, and what our turnaround times are, and where we expect them to do things, and what will happen if they don't. So we have as much visibility as possible. So don't be afraid to share everything with a client.
You let your staff innovate and improve the processes that you put in place as well, because they're the ones on the front line that are experiencing it in the real world. So we have weekly meetings, and we won't talk about individual issues. You have to deal with the individual issues day to day. We'll talk about building out our assets, really, which is your systems and your processes from this conversation here in terms of operationally. What has gone wrong here as a result of a system or process not being strong enough, or a check not being strong enough. Your staff will help you to innovate those systems and processes, and just don't have an ego to think that you know all the answers. Let your staff come and help, and they'll feel rewarded as a result.
Just like to got a couple of questions. I know we're getting close to time now. Paul has asked, what about not working with clients who only want compliance work from you? Compliance work is our most profitable work that we have at MAP. And it's profitable because we are efficient in the way that we deliver it, and we're profitable in the way that we price for it. So if we have more just compliance work, that's absolutely fine, because it's making us good money and it's giving great value to our clients. It's not, everyone's telling you compliance is dead and it's all about advisory. That is not the truth. A lot of people, I think, are saying that because there's a lot of accountancy firms not making money out of compliance work. Why not? Compliance is alive. Why not make as much money out of that as you possibly can, and then make as much money out of advisory as you can? But I guarantee, if you're not making money out of compliance, and then you think that advisory is going to solve your problems, you won't make money out of advisory either. Because what you're actually saying is we can't make money out of the services we provide. So become as profitable as possible to start with with your compliance work and then build the advisory services next.
So important. That's another webinar as well itself. But we had staff, after we put all this in place, coming to me and saying, "Oh, I've met this prospect, but unfortunately they only want compliance." And I looked at it and it'd be like a good sized business. No wonder they only want compliance, because they've got an amazing management accountant in-house who's doing all the other stuff that we have to offer.
Yeah.
But guess what? That person won't be around forever. We can make them superstars and help them along the way, and that'll be rewarding. Don't give up on the first sign of they're not an ideal client. If they're not an ideal client because they're not a nice person or they don't value what you do, then that's different. But if it's just because they've got, our duty is to make sure that they're well catered for. So if they're already well catered for some of that somewhere else, great.
Yeah.
That again, we're not salespeople for stuff that's working and working well. We sell the stuff that they're missing and they could have access to.
Yeah, I would just sort of say, to round off with that, is that meet the client where they are. Meet the client where they are. It's absolutely fine. But as long as you're having continual conversations, monthly catch-up calls, quarterly bookkeeping fee reviews with them, not fee reviews, sorry, alignment reviews or value reviews with them, you will find other ways to give them more value as that journey goes on. And because of the way that we're suggesting that you price, you will remain profitable with it. Other people are asking about different webinars about systems and workflows and leads and all things like that. We will at some point, and we're constantly sharing things in the Facebook group as well. There's still so much we can go at with helping you with this part of the process as well, but we'd love to help you with as much as we can. That's cool. Copy of the glossary. We'll post a copy of the glossary review. Now, guys, I would love for you to be all in the Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook because you don't like watching people post pictures of what they've eaten for dinner, forget about that and just log into Facebook anyway. Sign up for it, because I assure you, and you will quickly see for yourself, that the Facebook group at GoProposal is probably the most active, generous, and vibrant online group that any accountants or bookkeepers are involved with online. And it's not just about GoProposal, but so many other things as well. And I will share these things in there. I will share the gloss review link in there. I will post a link to some mindset stuff that I've got that I can help you with. I'll post a link to the book in there. But what would be great after the back of this, guys, is for you just to share some feedback with us. What's the gold you found from this? What are you now going to do as a result of this? Commit to it. Share it in the Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have some positive feedback about what you've really taken from this. What was your key takeaway? If you want to share any of that publicly as well, you can connect with Paul and myself on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever you prefer. But, you know, we're here to serve you. This webinar was not anything. We've not got anything to sell you. We've not got like a repricing masterclass or program or whatever. We've put this on. We've taken time to develop this and put this program together because we want to serve you better, and we want to make sure that you're getting the absolute most you can out of GoProposal. But ultimately, that you're not struggling, that you're not one of those frustrated accountancy firms that's in pain and that's suffering, but that you're getting full value and reward for all of the hard work that you guys I know do, and that you absolutely deserve to be rewarded for.
The final comments for me is just that, you know, despite everything was said, there are still just a few excuses kind of filtering through on the chat and Q&A about why people are not ready to go ahead and do this. And I'd just like to remind you that, as I said before, the first thing I did before I sold this business was to get all my pricing agreed and the services I was going to offer. And that was the way I did proposals from day one. I didn't have any operational systems. I didn't have any of this automation, fancy automation I've got now. I didn't have any staff.
No niche.
I didn't have any niche. I didn't have any marketing. I didn't know Zero that well.
Didn't have an office.
No.
Just a table.
Yeah, a kitchen table, and that was it. And I got on and did it and got better as things went on. So just don't let those things be a barrier. And again, I'm not saying that to you by GoProposal. It's not about that. I'm just telling you what I did, and what I did was, with the best information I had, I chose the best price and service offering that I could, and then I worked on everything. You can't just do one thing at a time when you're in business. You can't just work on operations and then just work on sales and just work on marketing. It's all bubbling over all the time, and we just need to have the mental resilience to be able to deal with that, because it doesn't go away. As much as we've talked up MAP and the business that I've got, I still have challenges every day. I still have stresses. I still have frustrations. But one of the frustrations I don't have is running out of money or not being able to take a holiday with my family. I can do all of those things, and if I do them, the business might not grow as quick, or there might be an employee that steps out of line, but none of it is going to result in us not being able to meet payroll and the business not surviving, or me not being able to pay my mortgage or pay for the holidays. that sort of stuff is sorted. I just have a different set of higher quality challenges because of the business that I've been able to build. And I'm not perfect, and this business is not perfect, but from a profitability perspective, every client that comes through this door will be highly profitable for us because they will pay the right fee for the services that we deliver to them.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Paul. And just to reiterate a point that I make quite a lot is that we're looking for progress, not perfection here. You don't have to get this 100% right. Version 1 is better than version none. And we've just got to get started with this, because you're going to get to version 1, version 1.2, version 1.3, etc. My iPhone here is on whatever software it is, 11.3. They didn't wait till 11.3 before they released it. They released the software at version 1.0. And you've got to get out the door with this at version 1.0. It doesn't have to be perfect to reprice 1,000 clients. It has to be good enough to reprice one. Get out the door, make those changes, and absolutely go for it, because you know what? You deserve it.
Amazingly, we've still got about 75% of the people that were on at the start still on this webinar.
An hour and a half later. That's
I'm
amazing.
sure there is someone there who's got a question that maybe they're afraid to ask, or they don't feel fair on me and James asking because the webinar's finished. If there's anything on your mind now that you'd like to ask, either privately or publicly, please post it in, because we're here for the next few minutes until you no longer need us.
I think let's move this over to the Facebook group now. So you can post it in the Facebook group. The video's there. We'll send you this video afterwards. Share in the Facebook group. You've got our emails. Email us through. Connect with us on however you want to connect with us. But we're still here. You can ask us and pick our brains as much as you want. But really, thank you for your time today. I hope you've got a lot of value from it. That's what our goal was. Thanks for being on board with GoProposal, and hopefully we'll speak with you all soon. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm not quite shut it off yet. Before we all give a round of applause, you can do. See ya.